deliberate, because if you're working outside, particularly when you start a landscape, if you have white on your palette, it ends up mixed in everything, and then your paint, your color ends up looking chalky. My still life, did that look chalky? No, very judicious use of white, only when I had to. And so when I start a landscape, a lot of times I will leave white off the palette the first day. Now, some of your colors may be a little off or a little dark. You know, if you have a really bright sky like we have right now, I might have to pull some in at that point. But I'm just going to let the white of my paper function as the sky for right now, okay? So, got that, and lost a brush, I think. Fiddlesticks. So I'm gonna look at these basically 3 trees over here and then what they have behind them to thank you, get started with. And I chose these guys, oh, thank you. I chose these guys because, you know, there's a little color there, and there's also some color differences. You know, we see the tree on the left has a lot of yellow and orange in it, then the tree in the middle is primarily green, but then you get to that one in the background, what kind of color do you see there? Some red and some purple, you know, something like that. So that will that'll give me something to work with. I think just gonna have to cradle my water like a little baby. So to start, and I'm working on some Arches paper here that is just, it's prepared so that it allows you to paint with oils directly on it.
So are we technically using oil paints that are water mixable, or is it a special type of paint?
No, it's oil paint that's water mixable, and you can actually use traditional oils with these as long as the mix is at least 50% the water mixable oils. So I've got this group of trees laid in, coming in with my ground plane. Jay, why don't you come over here and not paint and look at what I'm doing. Got that laid in.
Don't forget the Challenger. That's the brightest color you got.
Is the challenge? Do I need to get that Challenger in there?
Yeah, you do.
No, I just barely get him. Well, there. We'll see if he stays. I'm not hopeful for him.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
I just had to stand up for him.
That's all right. Dang it. I don't have a good place to put my water. Oil. Okay. So I'm going to do this a little bit like I did the demo for the still life and start with some of the brighter colors. I'm going to go with my yellow deep. for the censors that are captioning my videos, I did not just say that word.
The mask might have saved you.
You think?
Pretty indiscriminate.
Okay. I know an instructor once came to class and said, I'm going to give a demo today on academic freedom and what that means. And then the instructor proceeded to drop the F-bomb about 35 times in a row. That's academic freedom. Okay. I thought it was pretty funny. So I'm just looking to get some of those really nice vibrant yellows that are on this tree to start with. That's probably enough right now. But you look at how strong that color is. You don't get that on top of something else. And now I want to come in with some of my lighter greens. So I'm using the yellow light, whereas I started here with the yellow deep. I have Viridian on my palette in addition to the blues, and that gives you a screaming green mix. Check this color out. That green, come on up. I'm putting the paint on pretty thin here, mixing a lot of water in with it. And now I want to get some of that kind of red violet in the background.
Oh look, he's gone.
Oh no! Now I don't have to paint the damn thing. I am not upset about that. Who drove it? What did?
I didn't
Oh,
see
okay.
it leave.
Okay.
It just disappeared. I'm like, oh, it's gone.
It's a Magic Challenger. I wonder when they caption it, if they caption what you say as well.
Like,
Auto caption just
oh.
No, they have to send these off to be captioned.
Mhm.
Yes. I don't think they get the captions right away, but they do have to send them off to be captioned.
I didn't realize that. I don't know.
So, getting a little bit of that color in the background there.
It's the subtle way of telling me to shut up.
No, no.
Making more work for yourself.
I'm glad somebody's talking. I always like that old expression that somebody just talks to hear their head rattle. You guys ever hear that one?
I've never heard
Okay,
that, but
yeah.
that's great.
So I'm getting some of the background color in here, a little washed out compared to what I'm going to have on the trees. We talked a little bit the other day about, there goes that Challenger, he's gone. We talked a little bit the other day about how things in the distance change. Colors get lighter, they get bluer, and they get grayer in the distance. So if you have, a situation in your landscape where it is off in the distance, don't be afraid to, let those colors kind of wash out as you go back there. So I ask you guys to get your canvas and everything for next week. After starting next week, we'll start working on paintings for a longer period of time, and we'll work on the canvases that you build. How many panels or canvases do you guys have left right now?
I don't have any
I
more.
just bought a 12-pack.
You just bought a 12-pack? Well, you'll be able to use them, but I want to teach you guys how to stretch your own canvas. Right. And
Are you able to make your own stretcher bars? I mean, objectively, I guess you can make anything you
yeah,
want to,
you can. They're kind of a pain.
Mm-hmm.
What can you guys say, except for this one, except for this tree, about the greens that I've been mixing? Like here,
Dull, earthy.
they're earthy. You know, they've got a little bit of color mixed in, so they're not just screaming vibrant. What color do you think is the most important one on my palette? It's clearly not white, because I say we're not using that today. Well, yellow and blue are essential to make greens, but what really becomes important in doing a landscape like this is where you mix the reds in with your greens. That's how you get some of these greens that aren't so, you know, just absolutely screaming vibrant. Now, what I do like right along here, there is a little passage of some pretty vibrant green. So I'm going to come in with that. Oh, yeah. I don't work on this Arches paper a lot, but I really like the way the oils look on it. And some of the go. And I'm going to mix some more yellow in with that green.
How do you end up consolidating all the colors you mix on your palette? Because I feel like when I go into paint, I always like it's covered.
Your palette is?
Yeah, my palette's covered with like 3 colors.
Okay.
And
Well, no. I try to keep the mixes kind of in a certain area together. Like all my yellows might be in one area, all my blues might be in another, so that, you know, when I go in and I'm trying to mix another color, it's not, you know, I'm not fighting it. So what do you think I want to add now? I've got the ground plane and the background laid in. I've got the brights on the trees laid in. The shadows on the trees. So I'm going to start with this one in the middle because he's kind of the darkest up there, and I'm going to use some Prussian green or Prussian blue and a little bit of my Viridian. Oh yeah. Now see, this gives me that really good and strong, not only light and shadow, but what else is going on in my greens on this tree? Color contrast, that's good. It's going from what to what?
It's going from like a yellow green to a blue green.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So now I'm going to go to that far tree on the right that's kind of got a violet thing going on in it. And I'm going to use my alizarin and my ultramarine and then just put a little splash of blue in it, or of green in it, to dull it. And see, I'm able to start getting some shadows in this tree as well. You particularly want to pay attention to where one tree meets the next one so that you get some separation there. And I'm just looking for how I can build the shadows out. Now this strong kind of violet dark that I've got, I'm going to add a little Prussian to it and use that for my tree trunks. Okay, I need a little shadow in some shadow color in my tree that's got the great orange highlights. It gets much greener in the shadows, but not as dark as, say, these two guys do. So see, even something like that functions as a shadow. Need to get some green back in behind that tree. Now I haven't covered everything, but I've kind of touched everything, haven't I? You know, we get, you know, a little more separation here, so it's coming a little darker. Bless you. I'm going to mix a little more blue in with that color. Blue, being a cool color, does what spatially?
Makes it fall back.
Makes it further back, makes it recede. Break up this plane a little bit with some marks. Okay. I think now I can come in a little darker. Where do you see the strongest darks through this area?
In the middle tree?
In the middle tree, yes. So I'm going to use my Prussian. Just throw a little bit of Viridian in there. And really start to find some of the darks. Come in with some stronger greens now. For a little bit darker for my shadows on this tree, at least toward the bottom of it. Like so. And see, now my oranges, instead of just, you know, being dark against the white, because I've come in with the shadows around them, those guys have something to kind of vibrate against, if you will. And let's find some of these darker greens back in here, or darker, almost violets. back in here, and bring them right up against that green tree in the middle so that I'm able to make those separate a little better. I'm going to come in darker with some of the trunks. And except for my initial drawing, I've done all of this with this large brush. Now, because I'm not using white, but I want to put something in for a sky, what am I going to do?
Blue.
Well, I'm going to use blue. And what else am I going to do to that blue? Use a lot of water. And in putting some tone in that sky, like I'm doing here, what is that doing for my color in the trees?
Brings it out.
Brings it out, makes it more alive. Over the last few years, I've had several advanced students that no matter, and I've got one student in particular, I like to joke that she's in painting 37, although I bet she's taken painting 15 or 20 times now over the years. But several of the older students didn't sign up this semester for obvious reasons, and they always were on me saying, we wish you'd demo more, we wish you'd demo more. And look, this semester I'm demoing all the time and none of them are here. Let's see. So everybody can read it, everybody can see where I'm looking, where I'm getting those colors. Those are outstanding tennis shoes. Wow. So you know, I can even go in now with a clean brush and say, okay, I really want some of my yellows in here to come alive. I always put my brush in my mouth, which is not really a good idea because there's usually paint on it too. But I can't do that with a mask, can I? Everybody will say, who was that masked painter? So I'm just squeezed out a little more of my CAD yellow medium. I have a slightly stiffer brush here. I'm loading the paint up pretty heavy on that, so that I can come in and say, okay, I see some places where I can really get that color to come to life there. And I'm trying to, you know, get rid of some of the whites that I had initially. Even on paper like this, I would eventually get this canvas as thickly painted as the examples I brought in to show you guys today. I see a couple of really nice bright greens in places, so I'm going to use my yellow light again. There's actually one little spot right there of the green in that tree. And I'm gonna juice up the color just a little bit on this red tree in the background. If you can't have fun with color and exaggerate things a little bit, why be a painter? That's too much.
And that's why you don't.
There you go. Remember, folks, this should only be attempted in the hands of a professional. That's a little better, see? Got a little bit of that red orange to it, but not competing with the yellow orange up here. So I can see a few places I want to take the blue green a little bit farther. What are y'all noticing anything about my working method here?
You didn't say it, but I could tell that you're already like watering down your darks, and the lights are always thicker.
Lights are thicker, darks are thinned out a little bit. What else would you describe about how I develop the painting?
You're moving around.
That's exactly the answer I was looking for. I'm moving around, I'm not getting stuck in one spot for too long. To me, so here's a question. When did I start this painting? Okay,
27 minutes ago.
Caleb's going to give us a specific answer of 27 minutes ago. And I would say that is incorrect. Why?
I don't know. I started you practically when you started.
Yeah. Why would I feel like right now is when I've started this painting, because my work and all your work that you do in a painting, everything is based on the way we see everything is based on what you've surrounded it with. So until I've got color everywhere, I can't judge whether any one color is right.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because if we have, when we had this yellow orange down there to begin with, it was surrounded by white. It looked dark, it looked dull. Does it look dark and dull now? So to me, a painting doesn't get started until you have the entire canvas covered. And there's some really nice reds in this tree where it starts to transition from the bright yellow into the rest of it. Okay, so that's essentially how I would start a full color landscape. Really vibrant color, no white. And if you get it started with this really vibrant color like this, and then you say, okay, now I can bring in some white. If you do that, you're going to feel like, oh, that's too bleached out, too washed out, and you'll use less white. And the less white you use in the landscape, the better. Okay? Try to find something to paint where you've got, you know, a range of color. I was really disappointed that today the sky was so gray, because I wanted, you know, some vibrant greens and some vibrant color in my painting. But I think I found a good situation here to deal with that. So try to find something for yourselves that you get some vibrant color. And if you can find a sunny day between now and when we work next, so much the better. Does anybody have any questions or comments right now? Don't everybody talk at once, you know, it only confuses me.
What would be your next step in adding definition to the trees?
Okay, what would be my next step? Like you saw where I went in with the orange into this tree.
Yeah.
So what I would probably do is let this set up just a little bit. Since I'm putting it on so thin, it's easier to cover, but I would probably let that set up a little bit, and then come back in with these yellow oranges again, or these bright yellow greens again, or the more vibrant reds that I have on the back tree, and put them on thicker, and you let my strokes show. You know, my strokes are pretty energetic here, right? You know, and that gives the landscape some, for lack of a better word, energy. But if I go in and say, okay, you know, I want to really load my brush up, you know, I would go in and start to give each of those little color areas some marks in there like that, so that, you know, you're suggesting leaves, but you're not trying to inventory or paint every last one of them. So like if I did that on this guy, and I would just keep going with that, but if I did that on him, see, that's giving him a little more texture. Then I could do the same thing with my yellow greens in here. Really let your brush stroke show, and put them on thicker in the lights, leave them on thinner in the shadows. Eventually I would get to where I would come in probably with my white to paint the sky and get some color, you know, a vibrant light blue in there, because when you mix the ultramarine with a lot of water like that, it gets pretty gray pretty quickly, especially if your brush isn't 100% clean. But I think that's a pretty solid start. Yes? Okay. Quick question. How many of you have any acrylic paint? Okay. You need two colors, white and blue. If you just have white and purple, that's okay too. All right. That's going to factor into your demo that I'll do and post for Thursday. Okay. So what I'll be doing is asking you to do your demo in 2 stages. You're going to start it with acrylic, let it completely dry. You'll start with those 2 colors. If you don't have acrylic, you can do it like I have here, real thin, and then let it dry completely before you go to step 2. So if you're having to do it with your oils, just use white and the ultramarine, but real thin, and then that'll get you going on that. So it'll be a still life demo for Thursday, but this is your landscape demo. So give me some eye-popping color and some really nice lush greens for our critique next Tuesday. Anybody have any other questions? Nope. How long did we go?
We went